And by the way, I was trying to figure out where I knew you from. It was from the chamber.
I knew it too.
Yeah. How you doing, brother?
Good.
My coffee shop.
Coffee shop.
Yes.
That's you.
That's right. That's right.
It's
Overnight success.
overnight success.
That's right.
Yeah, I knew-
Up all night is good though too. College isn't so bad. I'll go back to college, you know.
Sure.
So I had no idea what I wanted to say.
For sure.
Awesome. Good to see you.
Very good to see you, Chuck.
Right, thank you.
Take it easy. All right. So, without further ado, I bring you another episode of More Coffee, Please. And this one is a little, for me, it's more personal because I had a personal experience with her work, and it was truly something that I'm walking around and I can't help but tell people about it. So I bring you Mary Laske Bell. Did I pronounce your middle name right?
Laske.
Laske.
Yeah.
Mary Laske Bell. And this individual here, again, we met through an event we were putting on. So she did some poetry, actually did a short story. And through that, we just kept in contact and I was able to experience her work. And so I want to tell you all a little bit about that and allow her to share that with you. So stay tuned, subscribe, all the good stuff, and let's get it. All right, so Miss Mary, who is Mary Laske Bell? Right? Who is that? If I didn't know you from, growing up around the city or whatever the case may be, who is that person?
I feel like I have so many different identities and so many different pockets of life. I think back, it depends on when you met me. People who met me 20 years ago would know me as, a student and an actress in community theater here in Akron.
Okay.
People who know me now know me as either a marketer or the Breathwork lady.
Okay. Okay.
I'm also a mom and a wife.
Yes.
And I feel like I'm one of those chameleons where it depends on when you've met me or where or how you met me. Different people would probably identify me differently.
Okay. What's the through line?
I think just authenticity and curiosity. I think that I have fallen into all these different things over my life because I'm curious, and if something interests me or makes me curious, I want to dive in and find out more about it, and throw my whole self into it. Yeah. And so really, depending on when you met me, you'll be like, oh, that's that lady because I was so involved in that thing. And then it may be totally distant from me now at this point,
Would it surprise anybody if they saw you in this space compared to 20 years ago when they met you?
That's a good question. I think in some ways, no, because I've always been a nurturer. I've always been, people I know now have told me stories about when they met me 20 years ago. And just saying I've got this buddy, Mike, who we went to freshman year of college together at OU. And he says he remembers, now freshman year of college for me was when 9/11 happened. So we're on campus, freshman in college, and he was in ROTC, right?
Oh, wow.
And all of a sudden, 9/11 happens. We're hearing about war and all this. Yeah. And he says he remembers me calling his room, back in the day with the dial-up phones with the cords, calling his room at college and being like, are you going to have to go? Checking on him. Wow. And I had forgotten that story, but he remembered that. And 20 years later is reminding me how I was thinking about him and taking care of him. So I think that people throughout my whole life would say, oh yes, she was always a nurturer and always checking on people and taking care of people. Yeah. I think that there's rascally part of my history where people would be like, really? Like, she's doing meditation now?
Right.
But that's with any youth who,
Absolutely.
again, if you're curious, you know, get into things. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And you grow and you become and I think as we get older, we kind of slow down too in a lot of our ways.
Absolutely.
So you were in college. What did you have a Ph.D. What did you go to school for initially, and then did you stay true to that?
I was just thinking about this because my nephew is about to go into his senior year of high school, and he knows without a doubt what he's going to study in college. And he is looking for colleges that have that program. And we were all just together this past weekend, and I remember thinking, I'm so envious of young kids who have it figured out and just know, right? I did not. I almost quit college after freshman year and didn't want to go back. And my mom told me, well, you can either go to college or you can join the Army. And I was like, oh, college isn't so bad. I'll go back to college, you know?
Sure.
So I had no idea what I wanted to study. And really took my first year to just take gen ed classes and figure it out. Get the college experience. And then I think it was like my second year, my dad sat down with me and he's like, you need to talk to a school counselor, figure out what you're interested in, find a path, right? And I did, and I found that sociology was what interested me most. Social relationships, groups, identity, how people function in society, where do the rules come from, why do we follow the rules, you know, what makes us come together, what makes us separate. And so that might be a through line too, right? I've always been curious in how people relate to one another and what makes you an insider or an outsider, and how do we shift and morph and change to fit in or stand out, you know? So sociology I doubled down on, and then again, grad school wasn't part of my plan either, but I had a professor who was like, I really think you ought to consider grad school. And I was like, okay. And I did. And then, you know, I loved it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So you went to school for sociology, got a Ph.D. So you're really Dr. Bell.
Dr. Bell.
Which is pretty incredible. My father's Dr. Qualls, and I've always been like, that would be kind of cool. You know? We can get there, but it's definitely taken a lot longer than I assumed. I didn't know if I was going to go to college. I went straight to the military. And I was like, you know, we'll go to military, but, you know, I'll get free school and stuff. And similar to yourself, I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I was curious about everything, but really had no direction. And then I found myself going to school for marketing because I figured that was an easy way to get into business and still kind of like have some fun and be creative. Not exactly. As I went to school, now I was like, I should have went to school for something different. You know, I'm just not. I can't just stop. I didn't know honestly that I could just not finish it and switch my degree. I didn't really. I was like, I just got to finish what I started, which is a gift and a curse. But with that being said, you found breathwork somewhere in all of this, and you really pursued it. And like when we talk about double down, like you really went all in. How does the PhD and this breathwork live inside this one person? Yeah, so in sociology, and really once I got to the PhD program, that's when I really homed in on stress and stress resilience, mental health outcomes. I studied, risk and risk orientation, like not just are you a risk taker or not, but are you even comfortable with risk? And what does that do to your mental health? What does it do? Like, what does being risk oriented do to your stress levels? All this kind of stuff. So it's funny, when I came out of grad school and I was doing other things and doing, things with supporting businesses and getting into marketing and sales and all this, people were like, don't you feel bad not using your PhD? And I was like, excuse me. Everything I can contribute to a business is because of my PhD, there's so much there. But then for the breathwork side of my work, it's all about stress resilience, right?
And so in my PhD, I studied the stress process model, which is a social psych model by Perlin that says, you know, the more stressors you have, the more negative outcomes you have. But there are these buffers in between that can change that relationship.
Interesting.
Things like self-esteem, right? So you could have high stressors, but if you have a good self-esteem, then the negative outcomes go down, right?
Okay.
Or you could have moderate stressors, but if you have really poor self-esteem, then maybe the negative outcomes go up, right? So like there are these things in between that change that relationship. And I always think of breathwork as like, okay, you know, social support could be a buffer, self-esteem could be a buffer, mastery, self-mastery could be a buffer, but breathwork is also a buffer,
Absolutely.
right? So I could have a ton of stress and put myself in a position where I could have all of these negative mental health outcomes, but if I'm doing breath work, I can lower that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so you really leaned into it at that point because you figured that it was a part of your degree, really a part of the journey that you were on. It was kind of just a more specific space.
Yeah. I think I didn't really even realize the connection though until I ended up in the hospital myself.
Okay.
And I had been practicing breath work for a super long time, but I hadn't made a business out of it, you know. It was just sort of a practice, and I wasn't as dedicated to it. And I got swept up in the hustle culture, you know, growing my business for the first time.
Yes.
My marketing business. Hustle culture, working all the time, competing with childless men who were my peers who could work 16-hour days and I couldn't, right? So like I really put a lot of pressure on myself and the stress was super high and I ended up in the hospital.
Wow.
And that was like a wake-up call and a reminder of like, hey, remember who you are, remember what you know, and let's get back to it.
When did that happen?
That was 3 years ago in October.
And then when did you fully go into this level of breath work that you're doing now?
Let's see, I've been teaching this form of breath work over 3 years now. So it was like, I started teaching this breath work in February of that year, and October is when I had my emergency.
Okay.
But then it was after that I really made the connection of like, okay, the stress is still too high. Like I'm sacrificing my health for business.
Yeah.
That's not okay. And that's when it became a wake-up call of like, this is more than just a practice. This is more than just a business. I don't even pressure myself to build the breathwork business. I just want to share it, right? Because I don't want it to become another stressor.
Yep. Absolutely.
Right? So yeah, it changed how I think about all of this stuff. And then you have to think about, like I did the deep work and the deep dives of, why do I feel like I have to hustle so hard?
Yep.
And then it comes up of all these things of, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough, I'm not doing enough, I'm not enough. And then you go, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And when you start realizing that those are all lies, then the hustle you realize it just isn't even necessary.
I've been in this space of challenging. I have a friend, really good friend, that I haven't spoken to in some time, but she was a leadership consultant out in Harrisburg, and we talk about like challenging hustle culture, right? And really trying to understand why are we hustling the way we're hustling? And I think it's different for like, you know, let's say you and then me, because I think hustle may have a slightly different definition, right? Growing up as a black kid in the inner city, it's kind of a by any means necessary type of mentality. We're more likely to do some illegal activities to get the means of which we're trying to acquire, versus other. And I don't, by no way am I making assumptions, but just on average, right? Other cultures and communities are not likely to do certain things. They'll figure it out, but it's certainly different models, right, to that approach. And so
Well, and it's opportunity too, right?
yeah, exposure, all you know, all the things, and without going too far, because we could definitely go there, but I think what we would discuss is certainly like identifying certain, being more aware. So one thing we would talk about is, at this point, I was a coach and a trainer, and I would talk about how 80% of our population lives in pain, in some type of chronic pain, but we become so used to it and we normalize those things that we just we're not aware of it. We just live, and it's like this is our new normal. Foot pain and back pain and coughing and all these different things. And I was like, as simple as that seems, it's like that's a whole conditioning that we've gone through, like hustle no matter what, regardless of the pain, and we normalize pain. It's like that's actually not normal, and there's a fix to that, right? We could potentially fix that without medicine and all the things, just changing your lifestyle a little bit. And I think that's certainly a space that I'm in right now, is challenging what is hustle, right? And to your point, not allowing the next business endeavor to becoming a slave to it, because we do that all the time.
Yeah. So
in that same breath, literally, I took your course, your class, workshop. I don't know, we call it a lot of different things. It was intense. My experience was, so let me give you some context. I knew about breathwork, right? Military and then other things that I've done breathwork in. Never did I have that experience before. I also, when you were saying, oh, you might experience this, I was like, yeah, maybe, right? But I think a lot of times we go through these workshops and things, and they sound good, right? And I think the intentions are there, but sometimes it's just not that, right? And it was that. It was. I mean, a lot of tears were flowing, and it was. I felt some things, and I'm like urging to. I want to get back into that space because I think it was necessary. How often do people have that experience with you, and how often is it the opposite, where it's like, oh, I didn't really, and then what does that conversation even look like for you as a coach, as the kind of the leader in that space who, caveat, wants people to feel and experience the thing, but oftentimes it's on that individual. That was a loaded question.
Yeah, no, it's a great question though. So number one, I will say, I'm even surprised a lot of times by how many people tell me I've never experienced anything like that. And people who say, I've done breath work. Yeah. And they'll come in and they'll be like, oh yeah, I've done breath work before. And then at the end they're like, what was that? Yeah. And I'm like, yeah. Especially because, the technique that I teach, conscious circular breathing, there are lots of people who teach that. They can call it different things, right? It goes by many different names, and just slight variations of it are all over the place. And yet I still have people say they've never experienced anything like that. I think the technique is extremely powerful. I also think, and I will toot my own horn here for just a second, I think that I facilitate in a really safe way that makes people, because you can do the technique, but if you're clamped up and scared and nervous and tense, you don't release and let go as much, and you experience, you get more out of it if you can really soften, right? And just be open. And so I think I've had people, that's the other thing people have told me when they're done is like, I'm so grateful that you told us everything ahead of time, because when it did come up and I did get scared during the process, I was like, oh wait, she said this, and they can let go. So I think the other powerful thing about it is that people often have a wild experience the very first time with me because they feel so safe to let go.
I would say you're a great facilitator for sure, in the way that you, I'll give you this piece. Like I think I mentioned this to you before too. I was kind of chilling through the first half, and then you said something that was kind of like, I'm the type of person, like, I need my coach to kind of be in my face. And you said something that was kind of like in my face, right?
Yeah.
It was like, hey, look, if you want to take it to the next level, you need to like, and I don't know if you were watching me or if that was intentional or what, but it was like, I need to wake up. You know, I need to like really pay attention and really, you know, do this for me. And that's when everything started to kind of just flow, right? Now, to go back to like, let's talk about some of the technical pieces, right, of breath work. What is it? And I think it was, there are, what is it? The breath is like one of the only things that you can have more control over. How do you phrase it? Sorry.
So, and this is perfect because my mentor, Rebecca Kordecki, first of all, she was very strict about, we always set them up with 3 things. I don't care what you say in your intro to people, you got to tell them what the technique is and like go over it. You got to tell them what they might experience from that, and you got to tell them what to expect throughout, you know, for the experience, like start to finish. So that was one thing. Hold on, wait, what was I going to say about?
The 3 things.
Rebecca, the 3 things, but then what did you ask me?
About the voluntary.
Yes, okay. So those 3 things have to make it into every intro.
Okay.
And then the other thing, the phrase that she used that you'll hear me use in almost every workshop I teach is, breath is the only involuntary process in the body that we can override and control for our own benefits, right?
Yes.
So like, you can't control your heart rate unless it's through the breath.
Yes.
You can't control blood flow unless it's through the breath. Like those are all involuntary processes that keep us alive, and the breath is the only one we can control.
Interesting.
And manipulate, right?
Yeah.
And so it becomes this really powerful tool that we can manipulate this process in our body to benefit us. And that's really unique.
It is.
Yeah.
And never even thinking about it through that lens in terms of using the breath to control other mechanisms, right? Which I think I've been coaching this, but not having that way to articulate. Like my daughter, we were doing some track the other day, right? And we're jogging, and I said, "Hey, baby, like control your breath, right? Slow your breath down. You slow your heart rate, right?" These are things that I tell them,
Yes.
right? But not thinking about it through the lens of like, you can control your blood flow, right? And how, because that's a very physical experience as well, right? Why does that matter?
I mean, there's so many things that are happening in the body and in the mind that we can change through the breath. So like stress, anxiety, fears, the spiral of like negative self-chatter, all of that can be not only controlled, but like flipped and rewired with the breath. You can rewire the brain and the neural pathways in the brain with the breath and like with a process like this. On top of that, you can reduce pain, you can reduce inflammation, like all of these physical things too. You can grow your muscles better if you know how to breathe right. One thing when I'm mentoring breathwork facilitators, I'll run through this exercise with them in our training, where I make them do some push-ups, right? And they can get, 5 or 10, however many they can do. And then I say, okay, lay down, we're gonna do some breath work.
Yeah.
And I have them do breath work for like 5 minutes, not a long time.
Yeah.
And then I say, okay, turn around right now and do your push-ups. And they can do 20. So like sending more oxygen to the muscles in the body changes the muscles in the body.
I think sometimes breath work can kind of seem, as you know, like woo-woo, right? It can seem like, oh, okay, I'm gonna breathe my way through, right? But it's a very scientific process.
Very scientific,
And
very physical,
very
mental,
physical.
Emotional. But I also love the spiritual side of it. Wim Hof, who is, like known as the breathwork and cold therapy guy, right?
Yeah.
I love the way he talks about it, in that the soul enters and leaves the body with the breath.
Yes, he does say that, which
Yes.
is perfect. Yeah.
you don't have a soul until you take your first inhale. As soon as you can breathe, the soul is in the body.
Yeah.
And as soon as the soul leaves the body, you stop breathing, right? Or as soon as you stop breathing, the soul leaves the body. So I also love that, and I think what a gift. And so if we're not using it, we're not using our soul to the, like we're not feeding our soul and utilizing our soul to the best of its ability. Like that is the one thing we can tie to your soul entering and leaving the body, is whether or not you're breathing. So if I have a gift of a soul, I'm going to use that gift.
Yeah.
And that's the breath.
Yeah.
Right?
How would you teach this to someone who's never heard of breathwork before, right? And these are, I have a lot of questions in terms of applicability, because what I'll do is I'll give you a larger piece to chew at with this question. There are certain cultures and communities, using mine specifically in the Black community, where a lot of us have CPTSD and don't know it, right? And then let's just layer on top of adulthood, whether we go to the police force or firemen or service members, right? Then we have that PTSD or that trauma and that experience layered on top of it. And then, you have anxiety, or you have depression, you have all these different stressors that we may experience with no real tools or modalities outside of, like for me, it was working out for a while, right? Boxing, wrestling, going to the gym, that was a big thing. And I think that is super, super helpful.
Yeah.
But something that you can do today. You don't need a trainer, you don't need a gym, you don't need money. You just need to sit down with yourself and breathe. So how would you teach this to someone and introduce them to this in a way that they could just try it and experience it for themselves?
I think there's so many different techniques. So I like to talk to people about, like, what is it that you need right now, you know?
Yeah.
There's one technique that is literally coined as like the anti-anxiety breathing technique.
I want to guess.
Okay.
Is that box breathing?
Close.
Okay.
Close. And box breathing is also great for anxiety. Okay. But I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Amen. He runs like the Amen clinics. He's a celebrity doctor. Okay. Super brilliant brain doctor, right? And he runs these clinics. And he says the anti-anxiety breathing technique is a 15-second breath.
Okay.
It's a 4-count inhale, 1.5 hold, 8-count exhale, 1.5 hold. Okay. So it's like box. It's also similar to, if you've heard of 4-7-8 breath, where the exhale is twice as long as the inhale. Okay. And then it's just got these little holds at the top and bottom.
It's very specific.
Very specific. Yeah. And I don't say seconds, because for some people, 4-second inhale might be easy, and for some it might be hard. Yeah. So the point is that it's a count, and your count is steady all the way around. Heard. So if you breathe for 4 as 1, 2, 3, then your exhale is also that same slow pace. Right, right. But if you're 1, 2, 3, 4, then your exhale is also that same pace. But he was asked specifically, if somebody is in the middle of a panic attack, what should they do right then? Yeah. And he said, number 1, don't leave. Because, like, you're meant to stay there, and if you just leave, then we feed the fight or flight, right? Yeah. So he said, stay there and do this breath technique. And I've given it to people who have had panic attacks in the middle of breath work, because that can happen too. That's
really like a weird thing, right? To be in breath work, having a panic attack, and then using breath.
To come back out of it.
Yeah, that's intense. Yeah. What about if I'm going into like a high pressure, like negotiation or doing business or something like that? What can I do?
So I love warming techniques for that, and masculine breathing techniques. Okay. Solar breathing, which is, we use actually the ring finger to plug the left nostril and the thumb to plug the right. Okay. and then we go back and forth. And you're going to take inhales through the right nostril and exhales through the left.
Okay.
This is a masculine technique. There's lunar breathing, which is the opposite, which is a feminine technique.
Okay.
There's Nadi Sodhana, which is the balance. So inhaling right, exhaling left, inhaling left, exhaling right. So going back and forth.
Yeah.
But if we're going into negotiations, I would do solar breathing. You could also use Ujjayi breathing. Is a very warming technique.
Okay.
It's one that we use in yoga a lot. Breath of fire is another warming, energizing, masculine technique.
Okay.
So any of those would do.
We're gonna have to do another episode and like sit down and go
Part
through.
two.
Yeah, seriously, because I would like to. I found that, like, you know, everything, if not, let me not say everything. I have been in a lot of high pressure situations. I handle them with grace, but as we experienced together, I internalize a lot of that stuff, right? So I deal with it. You would never know that I'm experiencing anxiety or anything like that because I handle it well, but I'm still wearing it, right, internally. Yeah. So learning how to apply some of these techniques so that I can let it all wash over me is something that I'm practicing, and I understand that I love psychology, and so I read people, and I can see when someone is feeling like stress and they're masking it well. And I think finding a way to do these, let's say we're networking and I have social anxiety, how to breathe while I'm walking through these situations, or I'm trying to talk to a certain person. I know a lot of people who could possibly use these techniques and really give themselves a breath of fresh air to pause and just kind of come back. Yeah. So it's a lot of techniques and things in there. In that space in the language and things of that nature. Away from breath work and the fact that you have spent a lot of time in this space and you do a lot of facilitating, what are you trying to accomplish long term for yourself? Do you want to start your own practice, or is there something else out there for you that you're trying to do?
I want to mentor more facilitators. Okay. Number one, I think that this technique is very intense and it needs a safe facilitator, right? And somebody who's going to take very good care of the people who are experiencing it. And so I want to mentor more facilitators so that they can do it the way I do it, right? Or like create that safe environment. And so that's really because I can't be in all the yoga studios, you know? Sure. I can't facilitate for everybody. Yeah. So I want to like duplicate myself so that other people can do it as good as this, right? Absolutely. That's really my next goal is I want to be the trainer of the trainers. Yeah.
That's heard for sure.
Yeah.
So now that's the professional stuff, right? So now I kind of want to touch on some of the more personal items, right? You've had your challenges with parenting and things of that nature, yeah? What has that experience been for you?
Parenting is hard. It makes you face all of these things of, whether you're good enough or whether you're making mistakes or all that kind of stuff. I think, one of the hardest, I've had to deal with two pretty hard, I would say the two parenting things that stick out the most as like being super challenging. One, I had a miscarriage before I had Arya, and that, like, mental and emotionally challenging, but it's deeper than that. Yeah. You start questioning your value as a woman, right? Like, if I can't do the one thing women are supposed to be able to do, then am I a woman? Like, am I a valuable woman? Yeah. Which comes into all the self-worth stuff that comes out in breathwork, right? Like when I say I did that deep dive of really understanding why I was driving so hard at business, all of those things play into it, right? So the trauma I had from having a miscarriage stayed with me. Even after I was able to get pregnant and have a child and all this, it's still, that was traumatic, right?
Yeah.
And then when I had my second daughter, I struggled with breastfeeding her. And I did it fine the first time, right? So now all of a sudden there's this struggle. And it makes sense because I had a little one. My husband was on the road. I had a business now. I didn't have a business when Aria was born. I have pictures of me. I had made like a little makeshift desk on my couch. So I would sit on the couch. I had a little desk I would pull up here. My laptop is here. My baby would be sleeping on my chest, and I would be on Zoom calls having meetings. So talk about hustle, push, force. I was doing it, right?
Yeah.
And there are consequences to that, right? We get away with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But my milk supply dropped. And here again, that lesson of like that trauma and self-beliefs and all that comes back in. I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm not woman enough. Again, here I am.
Yeah.
A woman should be able to breastfeed her baby,
Yeah.
and I can't do that, so I'm devalued, right? Like I'm devaluing myself.
That was that just you to you?
Yes.
There was
Nobody else cares. Nobody else cares. I mean, I'm sure for some people they get pressure, right?
Yeah.
But nobody was pressuring me.
Right.
Literally everybody was like, it's okay, you can use formula, it's okay, people do it all the time.
Yeah.
And like I was like, no.
Where'd they come from?
I don't know. I mean, I think part of it is like that's just my personality of like I'm a Virgo rising, so like there, and I'm Aries sun and moon.
Okay.
So I have a lot of forceful energy in my soul of like there's a way to do things and I'm going to do it the right way,
Yep.
right? And taking risks and doing it messy is okay, but there's some perfectionism there too, right? It's got to be done right and it's got to whatever. So I think some of it comes from that. I'm sure some of it comes from, again, just trying to prove my worth to myself. Like you said, like who else cares? Nobody else is watching you.
Yeah.
But we internalize that so much. That's why I say when I'm teaching breathwork is like we tend to be our own harshest critic.
For sure.
And so what are you being mean to yourself about?
Absolutely.
Right? And that's one of the things I was beating myself up about.
That's intense.
It was intense. And it's funny because I forced my way through it, and I made it happen. I breastfed her through 13 months.
Wow.
But afterwards, I looked back on it, and I was like, I didn't have to do that.
There's something to say about, right? You're not a quitter, right? That's something to say. You know what I mean? Obviously, I am a man, and I don't know what that's like. And
Yeah.
I'll give you context. Like for my 3 kiddos, I wanted them to be breastfed. My significant other at the time was like, I don't want to do this, right? And I don't know why I wanted. I think I just assumed that was a part of it, But I to her credit, I wasn't the best supporter in that space because I didn't know. Like I didn't know like how to support her. I also didn't know why I wanted her to do it outside of just feeling like it was a natural thing to do. All of my kids had formula. It hurt. She was not comfortable doing it, right? And so that was my only experience really with breastfeeding. And so as you're saying this, and obviously I'm a more mature person, I kind of look at it, I'm like, wow, like there's so much complexity with that. And I think there needs to be more pre-fatherhood courses or workshops because I think a lot of men have the right intentions, but we really don't know what we don't know, man.
Yeah.
Especially about being a mother, pregnancy, all of those different things. And so I can only empathize as much as possibly can imagine, right?
Yeah.
And so, in that struggle for you, what did you get from that you're utilizing moving forward, right? Whether it's through breath work or how you handle your situations now, right? Whether it's perseverance or even just raising your kiddos, right? Like, how do you look at these new stages? There's always new stages when it comes to parenting.
Every day.
Yeah, literally every day. Yeah.
I think a lot of it is just like you said, more support. I'm a huge advocate for, let's talk about this stuff more, right? Let's talk about miscarriages and talk about how I had no idea when I had a miscarriage that 1 in 4 women, or 1 in 4 pregnancies ends in miscarriage. And that's pregnancies we know about, right?
Yeah.
So you can be very early pregnant and lose a baby before you ever knew you were pregnant, right? So it's higher than 25%. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
And when it happened to me, I thought there was something wrong with me.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
I thought there was something wrong. I thought it was broken. I thought there was something wrong with my body, right? Or if you look at it from like a deeper side of like, oh, I don't deserve a baby right now. What did I do wrong, right? In these negotiations. And then with the breastfeeding too, all the women in my family breastfed, right? And I breastfed my first, no problem. And so when I struggled, that was a shock to me that you could struggle, because we don't talk about it.
Yeah.
So I'm a huge advocate of talking about this stuff. And now that you've been to my class, you see, like, we have open discussion at the end about real things. And that's partly why I try to create such a safe space, while also protecting that we don't cross boundaries and get into therapy or, that somebody, I don't want to say overshares, but like dominates the share circle and goes off on this tangent, so there's this balance of creating vulnerable space where we can, I say, healing is accelerated through vulnerability, and we have so few opportunities to be vulnerable with other people, right? It's like the dirty little secret, right? Don't be vulnerable. But I think that was what helped me with my miscarriage and with my breastfeeding struggles, is getting support. I went to a support group at the hospital when I had a miscarriage, which seems so, like, when you really think about how common miscarriage is, it's like, really, you needed that? But yes, I did. I needed other women around me to say, it happened to me too, and it's not your fault, and you're not bad, and like, it happens. We need to talk about this stuff. And same thing with breastfeeding. I found other support groups, mostly online at that point. The other thing about breastfeeding that made it such a I had to figure it out type thing was because that was when, I don't know if you remember this, well, you have a 5-year-old, so my daughter's going to turn 5 in September. There were formula shortages when they were babies, right? And contaminated formula. And so I also felt the pressure of like, this I know is safe, that I don't know is safe. And
was it lead? I think it was lead.
It wasn't lead. I forget what it even was.
That. But go ahead. I'm sorry. That was
there was contamination and shortages.
A crazy time.
And people were like I knew other women who were having breast milk or formula imported from Germany because it was safe, and I was like, good God, how much money are we going to spend? Like, I can't do that either, right? So that added extra pressure. But I think talking about these things helps you realize that, like, there really is nothing wrong with you. We're all stumbling through this life and trying to figure things out, right?
So in terms of business, right? Feminine energy. You said it's business's missing piece.
Oh yeah.
What does that mean?
So after my experience in the hospital, and I have pictures of myself in the hospital hours after surgery on my laptop working again.
You're a hustler, yeah.
Hustler.
Yeah.
And like sharing that picture on social media and saying things like, if your email marketer isn't willing to work on your project from their hospital bed 6 hours after surgery, you've hired the wrong person. Like, I was nasty about it.
You was popping your stuff, yeah.
So, but coming out of that and realizing, you know, I had to just like reevaluate. What am I doing? Why am I doing it?
Yeah.
I'm doing it for my kids, right?
Yeah.
The reason I started a business in the first place is because I got demoted from my job while I was on maternity leave with my first child. So like, it became very clear to me that mothers are not valued by the workforce, period. There are some companies who are doing things to prove that wrong, but they are few and far between, right? So I forget exactly where I was going with that.
Well, feminine's energy is missing in the business place. So
Yes.
What is that? You know, did you feel that the way you responded in that time was not feminine energy?
Oh, not at all.
It was more of a masculine,
Super
dominant
masculine.
energy.
Yes, masculine,
So-
dominant, pushing, pressure,
Yeah.
fight, like aggression.
Yeah.
That was how I ran my business.
So do you think?
Oh, I know what I was
Go
gonna
ahead.
say.
Yes, please.
I was starting to ask myself, like, the whole reason I was doing this was so that I could have a career, which I love, and bring money into the house, which is helpful, and raise my kids and be the full-time mom that they need. This was the answer to that. But if I end up dead, they don't have a mom.
Yep.
You know, so it was like, it just became this crystal clear misalignment of the strategies I was using and the goals I was going after did not match the actual goals I had, which was to have a business to help support my family so I could be there for my kids.
Yes.
Well, if you can't be there for your kids because you're dead, then you failed.
Yeah.
Like, that is the ultimate failure, right? So I realized that all that masculine energy does not help me reach the goals that I actually have. And so I started experimenting and like playing with it, and what does feminine energy in business look like? And I realized that I had a lot of blockages to receiving, period. And receiving is feminine energy, right? And so I started playing with it. Well, how can I receive more? And money would start coming in. How can I sit back more? And money would start coming in. How can I nurture myself and others more? And the money would start coming in. So I started realizing that there are two ways to do this, and one does not align with my actual goals, and the other very much does. And it's not that I've completely neglected the masculine side of business. I think it's helpful to have both. For me personally. Other people may not believe that. I'm sure there are people out there who, you know, run their entire business from a feminine energy. That's just not. I'm a fire sign. Like, I need.
Well, you're a
some
strong, you know, person, generally speaking, right? I mean, when I first met you, you are certainly not afraid to show up in a space and be like, "Hey, I'm here to do what I'm here to do." And so I think that speaks a lot about who you are as a person. And then if you're running a business, it only amplifies that. And then you're a mother, and it's like we're fighters naturally, and protectors and providers. And so for me, I think I am trying to tap into, I say, softer side, right? I think coffee has been that softer side for me. This is a softer side for me versus like the gym, which was like, yo, let's get this money. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to hear no excuses. Right? My kids even, and I tap into that alter ego where Coach Q comes out and it's like, hey, my daughter was like, hey, my legs hurt. I'm like, are they broken? You know, are they amputated? No, they work. They're hurting. That means you're alive. Let's get it, right? And it's necessary in some spaces. So I try to balance that, meaning I still say those types of things because I want them to kind of be monsters when it comes to their sport or their competitive space, but I also educate them on where that comes from. It's a matter of, hey, like the hurting and the pain that you're experiencing, it becomes less the more you're doing this. This is like your first time really doing this, so everything is amplified. It's like, oh my God, this is, it's like I tell people all the time, it's like the first breath that you ever breathed was like the hardest breath you ever took. Because you never experienced the sensation of wind going down your windpipe into your lungs. It was probably extremely intense. You're probably like, oh my God.
What is that?
Seriously, right? And we don't think about how sensitive our bodies are to new experiences. And so I try to teach that to my kids, but then I also let them know, like, yo, look, seriously though, like, I gotta wake that thing up inside of them. And I don't know really what age that tends to happen, especially from my perspective being I guess a new age father, where I'm trying to be more emotionally intelligent and help my kids be more emotionally aware and able to articulate themselves versus just like, my son, don't cry and put some dirt in. Again, I think there's a space for that, but how do you manage other people's stresses and experiences and trauma while also managing your own?
Yeah, I think as a parent, that becomes apparent because, before kids, you're only worrying about yourself and your own emotions and your own healing and your own journey. And then when you have kids, you look back on that and you're like, man, I had it so easy. Why didn't I do more?
Yes.
Because now, like I'm taking care of my kids, helping raise them to be emotionally intelligent and all of that stuff too, but also managing my own stress. And like any parent, I get overstimulated and overwhelmed by that stuff, right? Like if I have a stressful day and then my kid is having a breakdown and needing me, that's overwhelming, right? A lot of it has to do with the central nervous system. And so breathwork is one practice. There are lots, but breathwork is one practice to help regulate the central nervous system, help slip you into parasympathetic nervous system, rest and digest, where you can be the calm nurturer. Again, that buffer, right? I still have high stress, but I've got that buffer to make the outcomes less, right?
So you have to do that for yourself even.
Absolutely, absolutely. I won't even train breathwork facilitators who haven't learned all the other breathwork techniques that I teach. There are 13 techniques I teach in like breathwork certification 1. And you have to take that and develop your own practice before I will teach you how to facilitate conscious circular breathing. Because it's not a like cool new fad to do, and now I can teach conscious circular breathing, and so I'm going to go, get everybody in there. You have to have your own practice, and you have to be centered yourself before you can facilitate something that powerful. You're good. I had just ended my sentence.
You're good.
I was like, oh.
Do you teach it to your kids?
Oh yes, they use breath work. Absolutely. There are different techniques, like kids can't practice conscious circular breathing, right? But we do a lot of box breathing. Something really simple, especially for young kids, is just nasal inhales and mouth exhales. And you can teach them by like sniffing the flower, blowing out the candle.
Oh wow.
Because those are things kids know, right?
That's beautiful.
If you just say like inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth, they're gonna be like, what? But like smelling the flower, blowing out the candle.
Okay.
And yeah, my kids use breath work a lot.
That's good.
And sometimes they will even tell me, like, if I'm getting ramped up, especially my older daughter who just turned 7, she'll be like, Mommy, do you need to breathe? And I'll be like, yes, I do. You're absolutely right. I do.
That's really good. That's really good. And
or she'll say to me, like, if she's getting upset about something, I'll ask her, like, what do you need right now? How can I help you? And she'll say, I think I just need to breathe. Great. I'll breathe with you. Let's do that.
That's beautiful. What about your husband? Does he do it with you?
Oh, he loves breath work.
Does he?
Yeah.
He's like a strong guy. I imagine he's in the
Yes.
gym and everything like that.
Oh, all the time. Since
Yeah.
he was like 12 years old, he's been in the gym.
So the reason I say that is because, you know, like we talked about his masculine energy. Just from meeting him the one time, I'm like, oh yeah, this is a man's man.
Yes.
You know, me and him are gonna get along.
Yeah.
You're his counterpart. So he's kind of forced to live in a space where these techniques and that the more feminine energy is being articulated.
And I think, like you said, you know, coming to that experience made you realize, like, you want more of this in your life. Like, you didn't even know it was available and what it felt like, and now you do, and you're like, oh, I can see the benefit of this.
Yeah.
Same for him, you know, like, I didn't push it on him or force it on him. He tried it and he was like, wow, that feels great.
Yeah.
You know, and I think more men need that. Like, I love a masculine man,
Yeah.
but like, also you need to know how to take care of yourself, right? It was one of the things I studied in sociology, is like, especially black men in particular, tend to have very strong mental health outcomes, but very poor physical health outcomes, because they just push it down, mask it up,
Yeah.
so they don't come off as depressed or any of that.
Right.
But then they end up having heart attacks or you know, things like that.
Yeah. I mean,
So-
we died fairly young. You
Yeah.
know, you know, my grandfather passed at 72. He had dementia, and while he was going through that process, I was like, man, just you got to go outside and walk, you know. But I think a part of that is he was a character. He was exactly what you would imagine a 72-year-old. His mentality, the way he talked to people, approached people, he was like, yeah, all like just all charisma. The challenge was that I believe that he probably died with a lot of things unresolved, you know, and that he masked and didn't talk about, because that was the age that he grew up in, you know. With that being said, the final kind of line of questioning I have for you, what does loyalty mean to you? What is your experience been with loyalty?
I love this question. And when I saw it in the notes ahead of time, I was like, I love that question. Because I have maybe a different perspective on loyalty.
Okay.
And it's from my experience,
Okay.
right? I value integrity over loyalty.
Okay.
And I see the value in loyalty, and I'm a loyal person. But I think because, especially in jobs that I've had, I can think of one boss in particular who valued loyalty over anything else. And she was one of the most corrupt people I've ever met.
Yep, I get it.
And just narcissistic. And so if you weren't loyal, you got fired.
Yep.
And it was like, I'm not gonna be like, I'll be loyal. If I work for a brand, I love that brand, I support that brand, I blast them everywhere, you know, drink their water bottle, like whatever. I'm a cheerleader, no doubt, that type of loyal.
Yeah.
I'm a loyal friend. Like, if people are talking behind each other's backs, like, we need to confront this, or because I'm not gonna just sit here and listen to you talk
Yep.
about our friend, right?
Yep, yep.
So like, that kind of loyalty I value. But when someone is asking you to neglect your values or what you stand for, or your integrity, I'm not gonna be loyal to you. So that's been my experience, is that like, people who have outwardly expressed how important loyalty is to them, I find that, at least in my interactions with them, there's a reason behind that. And it's usually because, like, if you're doing the right thing, people are going to be loyal to you.
Yeah,
you know,
really
you don't have
talk
to
about
ask for it,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Or demand it.
I think that's a good for people to articulate and differentiate those two, because you could almost say that they're one and the same, right? having integrity and being a loyal, I think people would think it is a level of unwaverability, right? Or unwavering to something, right? But then we conflate the idea of loyal to a thing, a brand, an organization, even when that organization or thing or person is not doing the right thing, which is where integrity is different.
Yeah.
Right? It is saying, I'm going to be loyal to you, but if I see you on dog crap, I'm going to have integrity about the situation. So I think that's a good point. And also something I think a lot of people could sit down and think about, you know, even myself looking at it like, okay, because I agree with you in terms of, if I'm associated with the brand, it's like, yo, this is my team. But we got to make sure we're doing things the right way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
What does legacy mean to you?
Legacy. I don't know. I guess I don't think in my day-to-day I think about legacy a lot. But when I see my kids, like when I share my kids with other people, you know, we just got together with my cousin, and he sent me a message afterwards, and he was like, your kids are the most polite and well-spoken kids I've ever met. And he's works in part of the like Department of Education for the state of Ohio. So he's seen a lot of kids.
Right.
That to me was like, I'm doing a good job. I'm leaving my legacy.
Yes.
My kids, I feel like, are my legacy. Like how they, not in a pressured way of like, oh, I got to make sure my kids turn out perfect. I don't care about that. I just want to leave behind good humans, right? And if I can do that through breathwork too, and help people heal themselves, that is a legacy in my mind. Like I want to leave good humans in my path.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That is a legacy. That is it. Now, last question for you. What do you want people to know what do you want people to know about you that most people never get to see?
I think that I struggle with a lot of the same things that you do. You know, I mean, people look at me as, you know, the healer or the breathwork lady or the one who knows all the answers. I'm still curious and still questioning and still learning. I still make mistakes. I'm not perfect. I'm human. We're all human, right? Like I'm not that different from you. I just am like, I've been down this path, so I'm showing you what it looks like. That was another thing when I got my Ph.D. Everybody was like, oh my gosh, you're so smart. I'm like, I'm smart in the thing I studied. Like anything you really put yourself into, you're going to be the expert in that, right? Absolutely. So I think it's just, I'm human. You know, I'm human.
I love that. This has been very good. I appreciate you taking the time. And before we go, shout out to Rogue Awakening for sure for sponsoring the location, and Blooming Brew for the phenomenal drinks. We got a chocolate covered strawberry smoothie, and then whatever this young lady got, looks like some tea.
It is herbal tea. So good.
So shout out to them for allowing us to use the space and providing us with the refreshments. But this time has been incredible with you, and also this space. I'm really happy that you invited me out here. So
I'm so glad it just worked out, right? Because it was like the timing.
For sure.
We couldn't use the space that you usually do, and so it was like, well, we can go here. And I love being here.
Absolutely incredible. Thank you, Miss Lady.
Thank you, Austin. Such a great chat.